We should probably introduce ourselves.
Yes. Hi. You already know. Y'all already know who it is. um, Pasta. I cook, and I lie, and I cook, and I lie, and everyone shames me for it. Who's on the other end of this line? Who is this? Who are you? Who are you?
Hello. Um, I'm Dr. Shell Lapham, the drunk phytologist, and we are here for Drink and Think.
Yes. I suppose I should introduce myself as if it were a stream. That is a drink and think. Hello, my name is Pasta, otherwise known as Possibility on Twitter. My real name is Jack. You can call me whatever you'd like. I cook and hang out with Dr. Phytologist, that's her name in our circle. And today we are combining two of our streams. To anybody who's currently watching this on my channel, I don't know where the chat is going to land if you host it. If you host it, is the chat over in your channel?
I can go look.
Yeah, double check. But
right now I'm on your channel, but I can look at both places.
Yes, but if you're not following Fido on Twitch, but you're listening here, please go do that. Go follow. What's your Twitch name? Mm-hmm. What's your Twitch name?
Just Drunk Phytologist.
Okay. Okay, yeah, Drunk Phytologist.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy. Today, what are we doing today, Fido? Let you make this introduction.
We are making burgers, and we're talking about burgers, but we're talking about plant-based burgers.
I was about to say, Fido, I don't have any burgers. I've got Beyond Beef.
You have Beyond Beef.
Yes.
Which is no beef.
I got no beef with this no beef.
It's beef adjacent.
Beef adjacent, yes. Mm-hmm. So, this idea came about, Fido, you talked about wanting to do a plant-based beef like we have here, and kind of combine the drink and think and my cooking with pasta. And I'm very interested in trying this because currently, like, just in the package alone, it does actually feel like ground beef. But I think you might be able to go into the details a little bit more about, like, the ingredients, what goes into making a fake burger. Because we've already done, like, a veggie burger. But this is kind of a different ballgame. There's a little bit different to this. So I'm going to start prepping. We're going to do fries as well. And I can talk about that a little later. But if you want to go into what the Beyond Beef is, like, from the doctor side.
And so kind of the idea behind the alternative meat. There are lots of different alternative meats. Some of the first ones were alternative chicken. Otherwise, there's also alternative fish. But a big one is for sustainability reasons. So the agriculture, the most energy intensive and land intensive part of agriculture is the raising of livestock by a lot, particularly beef. Okay. And so is there a way to have your beef but not have your beef? So the idea behind this was can we have a meat alternative, right, that actually doesn't have any meat? So also, there's a request to turn my audio up.
Can do. Sorry, I am currently filling a pot full of cold water for the potatoes.
Okay.
Cold water for potatoes. And I shall turn you up.
And Dar is here. Hello, Dar.
Hi.
Oh, you're at max. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to turn down... Oh, no. Why is my volume so messed up? Hold on. I can fix this.
All right. I can also try to turn myself up, maybe? Yes? I don't know.
Hold on. Oh, no. Everything's all kind of messed up right now. What is happening here?
I don't know.
I happened.
Yeah, if I turn down the music anymore, it's muted.
Okay. I have switched it back to determining input sensitivity. Maybe that will help.
Here, I'm just gonna. I think I'm just gonna turn the music off for now because we're gonna be talking constantly anyway. So go ahead.
Okay. So the idea is that how can you have a beef which not having real beef? And so the was supported by people who are, vegan, vegetarian, those sorts of things, but more majorly for the sustainability reasons, just because raising livestock is very land intensive, water intensive, labor intensive, expensive, besides some of other different sort of moral and ethical questions, depending on how you fall on that. And so this was a potential solution. So the two major players, so there are several, I will say, but the two big ones and the new hotness, all the talk has been the Beyond Beef people, which are here, as well as the Impossible Burger people. So the Beyond Beef people, to make a burger that acts like a burger but is not a burger, doesn't have any meat in it, is what they use is protein from peas, so legumes. So legumes are your lentils, are your chickpeas, are your soybeans, are your kidney beans, your black beans, your peas, all those sorts of fun things. And so their formula involves using pea protein, uses refined coconut oil, rice proteins, cocoa butter, mung bean protein, so those are one of our other beans, potato starch, apple extract, pomegranate extract, potassium chloride, which is salt, vinegar, lemon juice, sunflower lecithin. So lecithin's another protein, but also an emulsifier, so that's like a binding agent. And to make it look like a burger, right, bleed like a burger, they add beet juice, so red beets.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was what the pomegranate extract was for.
A little bit too.
Little bit too, yeah. But yeah, they did seem to go through some effort, and we're gonna open up this package as soon as I'm done prepping these potatoes. Which just briefly, we are boiling first. We're gonna cut these up into strips, and then we're gonna boil them first. And I'm gonna show you guys a process that I learned recently that helps them crisp on the outside but be soft on the inside. But yeah, sorry. Go on, Fido.
Nope, you're good. Yes. So unfortunately, this one right here is anyone who has legume allergies, like soy allergies or other bean allergies, this would not be a safe alternative for you. Okay. So, and that's because JD just said I'm allergic to soy lecithin. Boo. Yes. Unfortunately, that is a side effect to one of.
But is the Impossible? You said that the Impossible Burger was different, or are both of these a non-option for JD?
So the Impossible Burger is different. So, and actually, I will say that when it comes to, the Impossible Burger, they are very transparent about how they make their stuff and have a lot of really great materials and stuff. So if you're interested in the science behind it, it's a great way. It's a great place to look at stuff. So what they decided to do instead is they researched. So the person who started the Impossible Burger wanted to figure out, okay, what is it about a burger that people like it, right? What is the components that make meat taste like meat? Okay. And the major component is what's called heme. Okay. So heme, which is, I'm going to have to put it in the chat. Heme. Okay. So heme is a molecule which binds iron in your blood. It's the reason that your blood is red. It's also the reason that the burger, right, like bleeds or whatever, but it's also the thing that gives it the savory flavor, that umami. Okay. And so because of that, they were thinking, okay, how do we get a plant-based burger, which has no meat, to taste like meat, well, we would need heme. So getting heme is heme exists in a lot of different places. The highest amount of heme exists in meat. Okay. But there are also plants that make heme. And for example, soybean plants make heme in what are called root nodules. So soybean plants and other legumes, so not just soybeans, so we're back to legumes again, they form symbiotic relationships with bacteria. And in those bacteria, they will form a hemoglobin, but they call it leg hemoglobin because legume, because it came from a plant and not an animal, but it's basically identical. And it tastes the same. So what the Impossible Burger people initially did is that they isolated this protein from soybean plants, from root nodules, and then put it in their burger and tested it out. And they're like, okay, this has the taste and consistency and things that we want from a meat burger, but it also is very labor intensive. And even though it's still more sustainable than like a cow. The problem is that it's still not as sustainable as they would like, because you're still growing all of these plants, right? And when you're growing all of these plants, trying to isolate stuff from all of these root nodules and getting enough leg hemoglobin to make your burger was not very cost effective, right? And also not really great on the sustainability part either. So instead, what they did, their different tact, is they found the gene from the soybean plants that help produce this protein, this hemoglobin protein, and they put it into yeast. And now they ferment the yeast similar to the way you make beer, but the yeast produces heme. Does that make sense?
Entirely, yes.
Okay. So I'm going to pause for a second and look at the chat.
I am also editing it is not Sea of Thieves, no. It is cooking.
So JD said she can eat regular soy, but not soy lecithin. It's in a lot of stuff, though. Yes, it is, because it's a binding agent. Hemoglobin from ooze. Yes. In humans, hemoglobin carries oxygen about the body and has the irons. It is correct. And ooze, hemoglobin in plants, in the soy plants, does the same thing, actually. So that is involved in some exchanging oxygen to the bacteria. So the bacteria in the nodule make what is something called nitrogenase. Now, nitrogenase binds nitrogen from the air. And basically, in this symbiotic relationship between the bacteria and the plants, it's kind of this tense roommate situation where the plant gives the bacteria an apartment. And they say, okay, to pay your rent, you have to give me nitrogen, and I will give you sugars and stuff in return. But don't get too comfortable. So the bacteria have this enzyme called nitrogenase, which will capture nitrogen from the air, form it into a different kind of compound, and transport it into the plant in exchange for food. Okay. Now, the nitrogenase protein cannot have any oxygen around it. It will destroy its function. That's what the leg hemoglobin is for. That hemoglobin captures that excess oxygen and makes sure that everything stays nice and kosher. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that is kind of the idea. So because of that, this particular protein, this hemoglobin, only forms in those little root nodules, okay, and not in the rest of the plant. And so that's one of the reasons it's so costly to get a bunch of them and extract it and make sure there's enough yield and then put it into burger. So instead, when they found what gene that was in part of, which is this is actually leg hemoglobin 1A, they were able to engineer it into yeast, and then yeast makes it. So because of that, the sustainability part of it, if we're talking about trying to use a lot less resources. And so on the Impossible Foods, they have sort of what's called an impact calendar, or impact. One is that it reduces, so for the equivalent beef, sorry, and I'm double checking all of this.
That's okay. I'm opening this package right now, and the smell is very interesting.
Okay, what's it smell like?
I cannot. It smells, I don't know. It does not smell like a burger, which is messing with my brain. So there is an aspect of this that we're going to have to get over, which is that this is not burger.
Nope.
I can tell you that the consistency kind of feels like a burger with a lot of fat in it. Honestly, when I opened it at first, I was like, immediately like, this smells like wet cat food. But there's something different about this. We're actually going to play with this while the burgers are going, or while the potatoes are boiling. We're going to play with this a little bit. So I'm going to just make a regular run-of-the-mill. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and make a regular run-of-the-mill, like, average burger patty. Then I'm going to try and make a smash burger. And we're going to eat these kind of separate. But I'm going to cook one, maybe a little one without any seasoning, and see how it just how it tastes without any seasoning. And then make a regular burger with seasoning and a smash burger.
Mm-hmm.
Carry on.
Okay. So if we're looking at the Impossible Burger, their uses if they use yeast to make the heme, it is 96% less land, 87% less water, and 89% less greenhouse emissions. Okay. And as I said, they're very because the person who started this company was a scientist. They're very big on transparency. So the top ingredients for the Impossible Burger, it also has the coconut and sunflower oil, and it has soy protein sort of concentrate, which is made from these yeasts, right? And we've had them, but then the major sort of fiber, and so this is to answer Action's question in the chat, is coconut.
What was Action's question?
So Action.
Oh, so is the primary ingredient of the Impossible Meat yeast, or what is the mix of the plant materials?
Yes. So the 5 primary ingredients in the Impossible Burger are protein from soy and potatoes. The heme for the flavor is made from yeast. Then there's some fat from coconut and sunflower oil. And then there are some binders. So like methyl cellulose, food starch, stuff like that. Which is the stuff that you put in to your, when you make like homemade meatballs at home. That's the stuff you use. If we do the whole list, it is water, soy protein concentrate, coconut oil, sunflower oil, natural flavors, or less of potato protein, methyl cellulose, yeast extract, so there'll be a little bit in there. Cultured dextrose, food starch, soy leg hemoglobin, so that's also coming from our yeast. Salt, other isolates, some vitamins, which are at low concentrations, so that sort of stuff. And so this can also contains an allium derivative. Alliums are like garlic, onion, and shallots, which is with some of the flavors and stuff.
Sorry, y'all, I'm trying to get the lighting correct on this. Sorry, just to further describe what's happening right now. Very interesting smell, and honestly, by sound alone, can't tell that it's not a burger. Like just listening to it, this is the bottom half of the burger, unseasoned, untouched, barely processed, like barely like moved around. It cooks like a burger. It seems to cook a lot faster, and I'm wondering like how the center is getting cooked right now.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll leave this on here for another 3 minutes and then see how it is. Sorry, y'all. There's going to be a little bit of a back and forth between me and Fido. So if you need more information about what Fido's talking about, please tell me if I need to stop interrupting.
Nope, and that is absolutely fine. Madam Cherry runs in, snatches a string of sausages in mouth, scampers out again, and then Bass swatted at her. So, JD, that's the thing with the black bean burger. The texture is never going to fool you, but it's still tasty. And this is true. So there's also been a lot of talk about not only is it flavor, but also texture. So one of the biggest challenges in the area I work in when we're working on trying to make more nutritious food, especially in America, we've gotten very, very used to highly processed food. And we've gotten very used to the textures and how it tastes and different things. And so consumers want those things. Okay. And so because of that, we can make something healthier, but if it doesn't taste right or how people expect or have the right texture, they're not going to buy it.
Which is so strange.
They just won't. They just won't, hon. Because even you.
Oh, I know.
Open the package. You know, this smells like cat food. Okay,
so I am dumb and cook this on way too high a heat, but so this is our. Let me make some room. I realize there is this dynamic between me cooking for myself, which is very visibly unappealing, and then me cooking on stream. I need to differentiate those. All right, so it's scorched here a little bit, which actually tells me that if you were to do this on a grill, which it does not advise, that you could get those scorch marks of a burger. Kind of getting at the center here.
Well, and that's something different too. So like the Beyond Meat people, as I said, like they haven't used any genetic engineering at all. So technically the Impossible Burger uses genetic engineering because they have engineered yeast. And so, but those aren't the only things so for example, engineered yeast is used to make, so hard cheeses require rennet, which rennet was originally isolated from calf stomachs. And that kind of fell out of favor for the idea of veal was not as much of a, desirable thing, and all of those sorts of other things. And so instead now, almost all rennet is not used for calf stomach. Calves are not sacrificed to make rennet for hard cheeses. Instead, now it is yeast that makes rennet. And yeast makes also a lot of our medicines as well, engineered yeast. So that's one of the reasons that the Impossible Burger people, use that, for instance, because also you can, using yeast to make things is very, very cost effective because you can make a whole lot of protein, vaccine, medicine, other compounds in just basically a big bucket for very, very cheap.
So I just tried the cooked meat, the mini burger. Very starchy flavor to it just from the get-go. Sorry. I mean, obviously, it's completely unseasoned. It's just with salt. I have a feeling this is going to taste amazing. I will tell you, there's like this. I mean, it's oil, so there is going to be oil on your hands. But it's very. I really wish I could give a more appealing review of this, but it's very slimy to touch, more so than a burger is. Not that that's a bad thing necessarily, because it doesn't taste slimy coming out. But certainly going in, certainly when you're working with it, texture is like almost dead on. Other than the sliminess of it. Might be adding a little too much salt here. Ease it up on this side.
So, Action said it's potato bread, coconut meat. Not really. Sort of, yeah. And interesting, considering even regular meat, you would season it, which is true. And food is a multi-sensory experience, so it makes sense, which is also true. And yes, Action. Yeast is highly manipulatable when it comes from a genetic sense. Anything that... so one of the reasons that almost all of the things that we know the most about when it comes to genetics or molecular biology came from microbiology, was working with viruses, bacteria, and very small fungus, aka yeast. So those are basically the cornerstones for working in biology and those sorts of things. So yeast is definitely a big workhorse. It is when it comes to making things. If it's not made in yeast, then it's usually made in E. coli. Is the other big one. So those two different organisms are probably the ones that have contributed most to our knowledge and understanding of biology, particularly in the fields I mentioned, by orders of magnitude more than everything else. If that makes sense. And also they're something I think I've talked about maybe on past streams, but it's been a while, on the idea of what we call like model organisms or different lab kind of organisms that work well for research, is being able to have a lot of them in a small space and to be able to very cheaply maintain them. And so that's one of the reasons that yeast is really, really good. Also, a very, very beautiful cocktail just showed up near to me.
What is the drink part of the drinking thing today?
I know, in this coupe glass.
What is it?
Well, it's pink. And it has a sprig of fresh rosemary in it from my garden.
You can grow rosemary? Outside or inside?
Outside.
Outside? Really?
I have to harvest it though. It won't overwinter.
Okay.
What, hon? Oh, you're gonna turn it into rosemary oil, but then should I dry it or not dry it? Oh, okay. Oh, we should harvest it soon then. What is in this? Sorry, everyone. I'm talking to my bartender.
So for those who don't know, our friend Ethan, or Takun, on Twitter, is an extraordinarily talented mixologist. I am a big fan. He has made something called is it aviation or aviator?
Aviation.
Aviation for me. That is just... Whoa. Oh, it's amazing. Also, I'm going to show you guys a step in the burger making process. Speaking of which, whoop, whoop. Okay, so cooking a bit too hot. What it seems like is with burgers, you really want to, with like the Impossible meat, you want to keep it low and slow as opposed to a burger, because like this temperature for a burger, I would probably still be cooking it on the other side. But this guy seems to crisp up really nicely. It seems darker on the stream. It seems burnt. It's not. It's definitely done on this side. But we're gonna check on this in like a minute and see where it's at.
So what would this be called? Or just whatever you want.
Okay. On top of that, okay, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to place the potatoes that we have boiled back into the pot and then kind of give it a quick shuffle. This is going to create a lot of starchy edges that is going to fry up incredibly well. So basically you're just kind of beating up the potatoes a little bit, getting those starchy edges out. And then we're going to fry it and take them out, let them cool a little bit, and then fry them again as soon as the fryer comes up to temp. Okay.
Ooze says that the patty seemed a bit delicate, but as far as making the patty went, but it does certainly look like a burger now.
What plant meat is this?
Beyond Meat.
Yeah, that's more readily available.
Yeah, so that one's more readily available because
So-
it is pea protein.
Yeah. For everyone who's wondering where I got this, I don't like advising shopping at Whole Foods. Not a big fan of theirs, but this is available at Whole Foods. It's probably going to be the closest place I know of. Maybe your grocery store sells them if you're in one of those cities, but yeah, in St. Louis, it's pretty much the only place you're going to find it.
Oh, so they just wrote it as cranberry and sloe gin martini, but I replaced it with cherry. So cherry sloe gin martini.
So it is a cherry sloe gin martini.
Nice.
So it is gin, sloe gin, maraschino, and lemon juice.
Yeah, do not pass up the opportunity to have Fido explain science to you, or Ethan to make cocktails for you. Or to have both of them happen at the same time.
I also brought in some fresh lavender and lemon thyme. Yeah. I used the lemon thyme. Nice.
Easy, ladies and gentlemen, he is taken.
You just got complimented, dear. He said, ladies and gentlemen, he is taken. That is true.
Okay, so here's the one thing that keeps freaking me out a little bit, is that on the package it says do not eat raw, which means that I'm like kind of treating this like I would any other meat, which is like wash hands after each touch. This can go on for a little bit longer. Hold on, this one needs to go up. So I'm treating it like a regular burger, which I'm wondering if is necessary. Like, what is in this that could be harmful? I'm wondering maybe do you know why is it just like kind of hedging their bets in terms of like legality, or?
I think it's more that. I
Okay.
honestly don't know of anything that would be harmful. Although I will say that sometimes undercooked beans, legumes, right, can cause digestive issues.
Okay.
It won't make you you're not going to get food poisoning, right? Like, it's not going to make you sick.
Yeah.
But you may give you a stomach ache or some other issues. So I would say it's especially too, because to make it sizzle like that, right, it has a lot of oil in it, which is probably one of the reasons it's slimier. Then I was thinking of this over here sort of on a chemistry side of things, that all fat is not equivalent, okay? And so to get the same amount of sizzle or like frying and stuff in your Beyond Meat burger, you have to use more plant-based fat to get the same as an animal-based fat.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.